Hello students, welcome to aimsindia online classes. This is a chemistry session. Here we are discussing about the chapter Air, Wind and Cyclones. In this session we are going to see about the composition and chemical properties of air, with which gases it is made, what are the characteristics of this air we are going to see in this session. Okay, air. Air is a mixture of several gases. Air is found everywhere on the earth. Living things cannot survive without air, isn't it? Actually, every living thing needs this air. Without air, we cannot live even few minutes also. That much important it is. Not only for the human beings, even all the living things they need air. So air is a necessary for breathing and even it is useful for combustion also. The earth is surrounded by an envelope of air. See here, suppose it is a surface. On the surface, there is an envelope of so many gases, that we say air. So there is an envelope of air which is commonly called atmosphere. Okay, the envelope of air which is covering complete at surface is called atmosphere. Okay, in this atmosphere only, these all gases are present. Now, the composition of air, which gases are present in this air, let us see here. In the ancient times, surprisingly, it was considered air as an element. They don't know as a composition of air at that time. So they considered this air as a single substance as an element. But in 1774, Anthony Lavoisier, for the first time, he showed that air as a mixture. He considered proved that air is not a single substance and it is mixture of so many gases. He was Anthony Lavoisier. He proved this in the year 1774. Till then, people they were thinking that air as a single substance and they considered this as an element. So the constituents of air lie side by side in the atmosphere and without losing their properties. They'll be in the mixed position. Even though they're mixed one by other, they won't lose their properties. We cannot say that the proportion of the constituents of air remain the same, but they may vary according to the place, altitude, and even based upon the season also. For example, in certain places, there might be one constraint in the more quantity, but in the some other places, its quantity might be less, and some other gases might be in the major quantity. So it may vary from place to place, and even based upon the altitude, also they may change. Okay, that's why we say air as a mixture. It is not a single substance like an element or compound. If it is a compound, if air was considered as a compound, the constraint gases would be chemically bonded together, but which is not found in air. These gases are being side by side in the air, but they are not mixing chemically. They are not losing their physical properties or chemical properties. They are retaining their properties, and hence we can say air as a mixture, not a compound or an element. It is not a single substance. It is a mixture of several gases. What are those gases? Let us say here. The air that we breathe is a mixture of many gases like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, argon, water vapor, and these all are present in the air. Out of these all, the majority of the atmospheric air is made up of nitrogen and oxygen. These two are exist in the large quantity. If you observe, nitrogen is available in the atmospheric air around 78% by volume. And this next one is oxygen, which is available around 21% by volume in the whole atmospheric air. So these two are the major gases. The major composition of the atmospheric air is because of these two gases, nitrogen and oxygen. So the other gases that are present in the small quantities are In the remaining 1% only, remaining all gases are present. They are like carbon dioxide, argon, and some other gases like helium, hydrogen, ozone, water vapor. These all are present in this 1% itself. Not only this, tiny dust particles, water vapor are also present in the air apart from the above gases. So this is the overall composition of the atmospheric air. In the atmospheric air, there are two gases in the major composition. One it is nitrogen with 78% volume, and the next one is oxygen, which is there in the 21% by volume. Okay, in the remaining 1% only, these all gases are present, which we discuss now, like carbon dioxide, argon, helium, hydrogen, ozone, dust particles, water vapor. These all are present in this remaining 1%. Next, now let us see about these major gases present in the atmosphere one by one. Out of those all, the highest composition gas is nitrogen. We have seen it is a gas that is most abundant in the atmospheric air with its 78% volume. Okay, so plants need nitrogen to make proteins in their body. Yes, plants need nitrogen gas for the preparation of proteins. But plants cannot take this atmospheric nitrogen gas from the air directly. So they cannot take this atmospheric nitrogen gas from the air directly. They cannot prepare their proteins from this. Even though this nitrogen gas is present around 78% atmospheric air, that cannot be taken by the plants directly. So what will happen then? Some bacteria which live in soil and the roots of certain plants, these bacteria take the nitrogen from the air and change it to a form which is called nitrates or salts of some metals, which we call as nitrate salts. So these nitrate salts will be taken by the plants and they will utilize this nitrogen in the form of nitrates to prepare proteins in them. So in that way, the atmospheric nitrogen gas will be used by the plants after converting that into required nitrate salts. So those that is happening by the process called nitrogen cycle with the help of certain bacteria present in the soil. So in this way, nitrogen gas is used by the plants in the indirect way because these plants they cannot take this atmospheric nitrogen directly from the air. So what is happening? This atmospheric nitrogen will be converted into required nitrate salts form by the bacteria present in the soil, and it is also present on certain roots of certain plants. So this bacteria will convert this nitrogen into useful nitrate salts. These nitrate salts will be taken by the plants through their roots and then they convert into useful proteins. In that way, plants will prepare these proteins. So we are also getting these proteins from the plants by taking them in the vegetable forms and fruits form. Okay, this process actually it is called nitrogen cycle, the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into useful nitrates by bacteria, and that will be taken by the plants and converts into proteins. So this complete cycle is called nitrogen cycle. Next, another important gas present in atmospheric air is oxygen. We know it is the second most plentiful gas in the atmospheric air. It is available around 21% in the by volume in the atmospheric air. This oxygen plays an important role for human beings and other animals and even for plants also in the following ways. What are those? Most of the living beings like animals and human beings they need oxygen for their respiration, isn't it? With the help of this oxygen gas only, respiration process is going on in all the human beings and animals. And even green plants produce oxygen during the photosynthesis process. So animals and human beings they consume this oxygen gas by breathing and they utilize this oxygen gas for their respiration process. Whereas plants they release out this this oxygen gas in the process called photosynthesis. So in the photosynthesis process, plants they release oxygen gas, and animals and human beings they consume this oxygen gas in the respiration process. So the consumption of oxygen by human beings and animals is replenished by the production of the same by plants. In that way, the percentage composition of oxygen in the atmospheric air is being maintained at 21% by volume continuously, because the amount of oxygen gas being consumed by the animals and human beings, the same quantity is being released or produced by the plants by the process called photosynthesis. So in this way, the composition of oxygen is being maintained or replenished at the same percentage, because animals and plant human beings they're consuming this oxygen gas, whereas plants they're releasing out this oxygen gas into atmosphere. In that way, its percentage is being maintained. Hence, the oxygen content in the air remains balanced. But what's happening nowadays? Indiscriminate felling of trees disturbs the balance. So, if continuously plants are being there, they're producing oxygen gas, and human beings are consuming this. So, it is being made balanced. It is remained balanced in the atmosphere at 21%. But nowadays, what's happening? People or human beings they're cutting down many trees for their survival, to construct buildings and to other works. So by that what's happening, the consumption of the release of oxygen gas by the plants is being reduced. So the consumption is being continued, but the release of or production of oxygen is being reduced. So it is disturbing the balance of oxygen gas in the atmosphere. So we should not cut the trees as possible as much. Okay, and the other gas in the atmospheric air is carbon dioxide. It is another important gas, which is available, which is present in the atmosphere at around 0.03 to 0.04% by volume. So green plants need this carbon dioxide gas to carry out the process called photosynthesis, by which they prepare their food. Okay, most of the living beings release carbon dioxide during respiration. This carbon dioxide will be absorbed by plants, and they utilize this gas in the process called photosynthesis. So, in the production of their food, they absorb this carbon dioxide gas from the atmosphere through their leaves, and they prepare their food in their leaves in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll with the process called photosynthesis, and they release out oxygen gas. That oxygen gas is taken by the animals and human beings, and they utilize this for their respiration process. And they release out carbon dioxide gas. In this way, they circulated, they maintain cyclic process, and their percentages are being balanced continuously in the atmospheric air. And one more interesting point about carbon dioxide. It is the solid carbon dioxide is called dry ice. Have you heard this? Yes, so carbon dioxide can be solidified directly without bringing into liquid state. When carbon dioxide gas is undergone high pressure at very low temperatures, that directly converts into solid state. That solid carbon dioxide seems like ice cubes. See here, it is actually solid carbon dioxide. It seems like ice cubes, but it does not contain any water in it. So it is like ice but having no water. That's why it is called dry ice. And when this dry ice is kept in the open air at normal temperatures, it directly converts into gaseous form again. Converts into gaseous carbon dioxide directly without coming through liquid state. That's why you say this solid carbon dioxide, which is also called as dry ice, it is sublimates when kept outside. So that formed carbon dioxide will be seen like a smoke, white smoke. Okay. So now here solid carbon dioxide is called dry ice, and the carbon dioxide gas released by the human beings and animals through their respiration process is consumed by the plants, and these plants produce oxygen gas. And again, that oxygen gas is utilized by these animals and human beings, and they release out carbon dioxide. In this way, the composition of carbon dioxide is maintained and balanced at 0.03% continuously. But nowadays, what's happening? We are cutting down many trees, so we are releasing continuously carbon dioxide. So its percentage is being slowly increasing. So we say the percentage of carbon dioxide gas is slightly increasing from 0.03 percentage to 0.04 percentage. The slight change in its composition shows drastic changes in the atmospheric conditions. So we should maintain the plants also as possible as many. Okay, that's about carbon dioxide. Now let us see certain characteristics of air as a mixture. What are the properties exhibited by air as being a mixture? One of them is the composition of air varies from one place to another place and even from time to time also. For example, the percentage of water vapor in the air depends upon the place and season, isn't it? If it is a coastal region, if it is a place near the coast or oceans, there the water vapor in the atmospheric air will be very much, because as there is nearby water body, from there more amount of water will be converting into vapor form. So there will be much extent of water vapor in the air. But if we go to certain cities where water bodies are so far to them, there the content of water vapor will be less. So in that way, water vapor percentage will be varied from place to place, and even that may change from season to season also. If you observe in the summer season, the water vapor or humidity in the atmospheric air will be very greater, very much high, compared to the content of water vapor in the winter season or other seasons or like rainy season. Because in the summer season more amount of water will be converted into water vapor because of hot sun. So the water vapor or humidity will be high in the summer season. In this way, the composition of the gases in the air may vary from place to place and even from time to time. No heat change is involved in the mixing up of these gases in the air. So no heat is absorbed or released while gases are being mixed. And even no definite boiling point for the liquid air, because it is made up of different gases, they'll be having different boiling points. So we say there is no different boiling point for the liquid air. Liquid air has no definite chemical formula because it contains so many gases. We cannot say a fixed chemical formula for air. And even the separation of air into various components can be done by physical methods. So this is also one of the property of mixtures. If it is a compound, there for the separation of various components, it is needed to use some chemical methods. But here, the components of air can be separated by using physical methods itself, like diffusion and liquefaction, which we call as preferential liquefaction or solubility. By using these different techniques, we can separate the components of air. Air does not exhibit definite chemical properties of its own. Yes, air has no definite chemical properties. These properties will be varied by based upon the composition of air. And the components of air retain their individual properties. They won't lose their properties even though they mix with other gases. Their properties will be retained. Air consists of many gases like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. So, even though these all are present, their individual properties will be retained by those. They won't change their properties. Now, let us see certain important properties of air. One of them is air is a colorless gaseous substance. Air occupies space. This we have proved with certain. We can prove this with simple examples like filling a balloon, filling tires, and these all, isn't it? Air has weight and exerts pressure in all directions. Air usually contains some water vapor that we say as humidity. The quantity of water vapor present in the atmospheric air is called humidity or moisture. Air usually has some speed. Yes, air won't be in the still position. It will be continuously moving from one place to another place. That is set particularly from the higher pressure areas to lower pressure areas. This moving air is called wind. So it will be having certain speed continuously. Air has temperature also, and even air has volume too. It occupies some space. And air exerts pressure. How it is? Let us see here. The pressure exerted by air on all the bodies at all times in all directions is called air pressure. The fact that air exerts pressure can be understood by many examples. Let us try to see some examples here. One of them is a tube of bicycle gets inflated when air is filled in it, isn't it? Tubes of bicycles and some other vehicles, if you observe, when air is filled into it, it will be inflated. This happens because air exerts pressure inside the walls of on the walls of this tube. So as air is filled into it, the air filled inside will exert pressure on the walls of this tube, and hence it is inflated. This is because of air pressure. And one more example, it is difficult to move a bicycle against the direction of the wind. Have you ever experienced this? We can try this. So if wind is blowing in one direction, if you ride a bicycle in the opposite direction to that, it will be very difficult to ride the bicycle. Similarly, a sailor feels it difficult to sail his boat against the direction of wind. This happens because air exerts pressure on that. So if air is blowing in this way, it will be very difficult to ride the cycle in the opposite direction to that because air exerting pressure on the person and on the cycle, and hence it feels difficult to ride the bicycle. Okay, that is because of air pressure. And one more example, when boiled water is filled in a tin can and its mouth is closed with the lid, followed by the cold water being poured over it, the can gets distorted. So what we have done here, first we have taken a tin can, and it is filled with water, and now boiled water, and now have closed the lid like this. Then on the lid, if cold water is poured, immediately we observe that the tin can gets distorted like this. Why it is happening so? This happens because air inside the can gets condensed and creates low pressure. So by pouring cold water on the tin can, the warm or the gas present inside the tin can gets condensed. As it is condensed, it contracts and creates low pressure inside. Now, the high pressure outside the can, the air present outside the can contains high pressure. So, it distorts the shape of the can from outside. Okay, the higher pressure from the outside distorts the shape of the can, and hence the can seems shrink. Okay, this is because of air pressure from outside. And even you can fly a kite because air exerts pressure from the rear portion of the kite. This is also because of air pressure. And even airplane can fly because of air exerting pressure on it from the down. And even birds can fly because of air pressure, isn't it? These all are happening because of air pressure. And even thatched roof is blown off because of high wind speed. This happens because high speed wind creates an area of low pressure on the roof. So when air or wind is blown with high speed, this creates a low pressure area on the thatched roof. Due to this, the thatched roof is sucked up, finally gets blown away. So here the air is with the high pressure. Here, as the high wind speed is there, it creates low pressure here. High pressured air at the bottom of the roof, it blows up, because we know air always moves from rushes from high pressure area to low pressure area, and finally the thatched roof is sucked up, and finally it gets blown away. This is also because of air pressure. So these all are because of the air pressure, air exerting pressure. Thus we can say increase in wind speed is associated by decrease in air pressure. If air pressure is decreased, wind will rush to that place from high pressure areas to that place. Okay, that's about air pressure. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel Aims Today and visit our website aimstoday.in for latest updates on recorded videos.